Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Tony Muggs. Check it out. There it goes. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Tony Muggs of the Muggs and Dude. Tony, how you doing?
Hey, good. Let me see. Okay. I got you. I'm doing well. I just had to hit something on the screen to see your face again.
All right. Excellent. Excellent,
Yeah.
man. So I think last time we talked was in June, and at that time, we were talking about Dude, but but you also mentioned you were working on the book, which is an autobiography, which aptly is called Autobiograffitti, and you had been working on that. You had the music, that is an album that will come out for Dude, with the same title, and it was in progress. The writing was in progress, getting ready to get that out there, but now, coming out on December 1st, the book is finally available. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It'll be
Awesome.
live. It'll be live on Amazon in both paperback and hardcover, December 1st, just in time for Christmas.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. And so, um, it's got to feel great to have this huge body of work, because I know you worked on it for a long time, to have that thing out there so that people can enjoy it. It's got to feel good.
Oh, it's a great feeling. I've been working on this for 6 years, and I start off in the prologue mentioning, how I'd like the reader to read it, maybe with a cocktail and
Excellent.
dialogue with a new friend kind of approach. Sometimes I actually speak directly to you. It's called the authorial intrusion, and it's meant to be fun, but everything in there is true. And the story is on in December, on my birthday, December 13th, 2016. I went down to Bumbo's bar in Hamtramck, and I talked to a good friend of mine, Jamie from the Urs, the Loggerheads, and Grand Heft. And he was working at Third Man at the time. And I said, "Oh, man, wouldn't it be great if Dude could get signed to Third Man?" And we're talking. And I just happened to mention I've been, right on and off writing this book,
Yeah.
but, really not doing anything. And I've been trying to write this book since 2005, actually. And he said, "Wow, well, Third Man publishes books. You know that, right?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And he said, "That's your angle. If you want to get signed, and that was the impetus. That was a catalyst. He was a catalyst for me actually
Wow.
writing this book, and putting all the, all the excuses of why I couldn't finish it before aside,
Right.
and sit down and write it. And so I did. And boy, was I naive. I thought I was going to whip this out in a year, and 6 years later. But things got in the way, like COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and I am a perfectionist, and when you're putting your name on something, you want to make it as good as you can.
Hell yeah.
And so I got some good people behind me, and during the time of COVID, I actually printed off some copies from FedEx or something, like, and I passed the book around,
Uh-huh.
and I realized how much more work I had.
Oh,
I had edited over and over and over and over. And but it's not, when you're writing a book, you can't, you have to put your ego aside
yeah.
sometimes. And the right people got behind me and said, "You might want to clean this up." Punctuation errors all over the place. But in
Yeah.
the end, it was when I got it whittled down to, like, what I really wanted. It was perfect for me, and
Nice.
I'm sure there are some gaffes that somebody's going to find, but um, you know, this is self-published, so I'm hoping I didn't get picked up. Speaking of Third Man, they passed on me. That's okay. I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
it's a tough business, but I'm hoping that this book does relatively well locally, or maybe regionally in the Midwest, or whoever wants to buy this book.
Yeah.
And maybe on the back end, in a year, I get picked up by a real publisher, and then we can really start working it.
Right. Right. Well, I think it's an pretty inspiring story. I mean, it's one thing to be like an accomplished musician like you are, but then to have gone through the things you've gone through in your life, to survive a stroke and then rehabilitate yourself and come back and still be a musician and a creative artist, and now you're a writer. I wonder what were the highlights for you of writing this book?
Well, first of all, my mom died in 2015, just a sudden heart attack, and that was a tough blow because I'm a mama's boy, and so it brought me close to my mom again. Her name was Judy, and that for that I'll always be thankful when thinking back writing this book. But it's also I felt obliged to write it for other people that have had strokes or got knocked down by some malady,
Yeah.
and just to say, if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. I mean, it's just so cheesy to say, but all the old cliches have been around for centuries for a reason. They're true. They're
Right.
true, and no one wants to hear them because that requires you to do something. That requires you to take an action and go down a road that maybe is you don't want to go down at first. But I've always been, I always have this philosophy: whatever I can't do, I want to do the most because that way I'll be my best self.
Awesome.
So the other thing was I didn't find my like I said, I was cocky. I figured I'd be done with this in a year, and
Yeah.
I really didn't find my voice until like 6 months of straight continuous writing. And then when I found my voice, boy, did I find my voice. And then I started having fun with and so my process was I would go to Hamtramck, be it or just various places because
Yeah.
I have to be around people to be creative for some reason. That's just my how I function, I guess. And so sometimes I'd go to Cafe 1923 in Hamtramck, Bumbo's Bar, Caju Cafe, um, Off World, that arcade above Chucker Bar in Detroit.
Nice.
Or sometimes I just force myself to stay home, and and I'd write on my iPhone. I'd
Really?
open up the notes like in
Yeah.
your iPhone,
Yeah.
and that was the most expedient way I could do it because I'm not going to write with my left hand and then transcribe it. So what I do, this is my process. I would write on my iPhone and just mining for ore, like not caring about punctuation, just
Yep.
getting out those thoughts. And then, about 2, 3 hours later, I would have about maybe 1 to 2 pages. Then I would send that back to my email. And then when I got home, I would copy and paste it into the document, the Word doc, and go from there.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so that it was about a solid 2 years of writing,
Holy
and
cow.
and it was, but I turn everything into a game and have fun with it. So it was like I would, I looked forward to my writing session on Tuesday or Thursday, and I'd go and I would pretend I'm a famous writer or something. And it's just all about using your imagination and
Yeah.
having fun. And so then, of course, I'd reward myself with a couple of drinks afterward and go out to a rock bar like Outer Limits, or just
Yeah.
and see a band or something like creative like that. So that's really how it happened. And then I started editing, and so then after I bounced it and I had it in my email and I bounced it down to the Word doc, then I would go over and take a separate day and just start editing and making sense of what I was trying to say. And it's just a process of continuous editing, and there's always a better way to say it. And I'm I'm not a how can I put this? I have diarrhea of the mouth, and sometimes I just talk and talk and talk, and you have to whittle down this whole run-on sentence with something concise to get
Yeah.
to part of the truth of
Right.
whatever I was speaking.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Hey,
fascinating.
yeah. Hell yeah, man. So we've got Tommy from Slumlord Radio. He's joined. Tommy, how you doing, man?
Hey, good man. How you guys doing?
Hey, Tommy, my
How's
man,
it going?
good man.
Excellent. So Tom, you got any questions for Tony?
Oh man. Yeah, I guess with that, I mean, did you find? I mean, was it? I don't know. Like, it's always tough for me to like. It had to have been just really tough to all those years to kind of compile everything and take it and put it to paper. I mean, how tough was that?
Yeah, well, it was cathartic for sure. I'd get choked up writing about my own memories, and um, what I decided to do initially was to start with the most powerful memory, which was that fateful day, when I had my stroke.
Yeah.
And it started out great. My niece Angelina had been born that day, so we share that in common.
Wow.
We always joke around that we're the same age. She just turned 21, so did I. And then I went to Arby's to have lunch. When I came back, I was actually upstairs making a phone call to book some studio time. Matt Smith from Outrageous Cherry he was going to produce the first Muggs record, and he wanted to use the old State Theater to create the beds, like the drums and the rhythm tracks and all that. And so I was calling. I knew a woman. Her name was Deanna Park, and she managed or had something that was affiliated with the State Theater. So I was calling her to ask her permission to use the State Theater late at night, like from 2 a.m. to maybe 6 a.m. No one's in there. And when I was on the phone with her, I started losing my speech, and it freaked me out. And from there, it just went south really fast. So that was my process for just where do I start? Well, let's
Yeah.
start with that most powerful memory, and then build a narrative around that. And from there, it just got legs, and I really looked at it like a script in a movie. How if this were a movie, how would I want it to play out?
Yeah.
So I write a prologue, and then I start, with I thought would be something interesting. The Mugs are on national television in 2007.
Yeah.
So and then I take it up to a cliffhanger, and then I rewind all the way back to 1986, where me and Danny Muggs meet in high school, and we just fall in love with music, and we start playing in rock bands and blues bands, and then we form the Mugs, and then I have a stroke, and so I take it. This is the first of two books actually, and I just wanted to show you. I got the proof back. Check this out.
Oh man, that looks
So it's real.
awesome.
It's tangible. And again, you can. I want everyone to get this on December 1st. Amazon, both in paperback. It's Autobiographitti, Tony Muggs, and you can order it. So, anyways, where was I? I pick up the after 2007 at a certain point, cliffhanger, and then I just take it from 1986, where Danny and I met in high school, all the way to 2003. And I'm going to write my second book eventually. But I figured 2003 was a good point to stop the book. And because in 2003, I go to California, and I do this alternative rehab. And it was kind of sideways. But what happened in California was I actually talked to Danny Muggs, and on Matt Smith's recommendation or suggestion, he said, "Man, the Mugs are so badass. Why don't you try to play the bass on a keyboard like Ray Manzarek?" It never occurred to me. I thought my
Yeah.
career was over, and so I actually borrowed my Aunt Marie's crappy Casio keyboard and called Danny, and I just wanted his blessing. A three piece, you can't bullshit a three piece, I always say.
Yeah.
And I needed to know that he was backing me, and I wasn't doing this all for naught. And Danny just said, "Go for it, kid," and the rest is history. So the second book is going to be from 2003 to 2016, and where I learned how to play the bass on the keyboard on the Fender Rhodes, and then we get signed and all the hilarious situations and stories in Europe. That's going to be the second book.
Oh man.
Without the glossary. My crazy ass wrote a glossary in the first book, but
Yeah.
I
So
definitely won't be doing that again.
so talk about the glossary because we started talking a little bit before we got going, but I want to get into that. So that is like all the terminology according to Tony. What is the glossary?
Okay, so in the prologue, I tell you how I'd like you to read the book. And in doing that, I say that I italicize certain words and phrases that are important to me because I think you should know the author a little bit when reading any one of his books. So I created a glossary during the time of COVID. It took me 7 months. And yeah, it was crazy. I actually put down my music. I didn't even stare at my instrument for a year and 3 months. And I just concentrated on the glossary and editing. And I figured this is the universe telling me it's time out for music, concentrate on the book. And I'm glad I did that. But to get back to the glossary, I created the glossary because, first of all, I wanted to highlight all these all these names and bands and things that I truly love. And so, but I also sometimes use the glossary to further the narrative of what I'm talking about. And I didn't want to, I already have diarrhea of the mouth. I didn't want to go on and on about a story that maybe you're not concerned about. So I figured I would add that into the glossary. And
That's a good idea.
yeah, and it kind of creative, I guess. And also, it's my way I can give my opinion and social commentary on certain things. And so the gloss, like the book, the book is this big. The glossary is literally this big.
So it's about
So,
half,
maybe a third.
a third.
But it's interesting, and I would love everyone to just this is a coffee table book for sure. And you can flip through any of the glossary, and it's fun. It's meant to be fun, not too serious. I get serious enough in the book when I'm on my soapbox about you know being a stroke advocate and you can do it and all those other things that
Yeah.
I truly believe in. But this is meant to be fun as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we probably touched on it a little bit, but what was the most challenging aspect of this? Was it, you mentioned trying to find your voice, the working the edits, and then also being able to, kind of be defenseless. You had to let other people read this, right, so that they could give their opinions and help you whittle it down into something that would be palatable for everybody, right? So what would you say was the most challenging aspect for you?
Well, just revealing myself to hopefully the world. I have this philosophy. Yeah, everyone has this voice in their head that says you can't do it. You're a fraud. And like everyone else, I'm susceptible to that too. And when I hear that voice, I've trained my mind to say, okay, you just gave me permission to do exactly like the opposite. So it's kind of like you just have to be brave. And I'm standing naked in front of the whole world saying this is me, and I'm not as cool as everyone thinks I am. I'm just like everyone else. And so like put my ego aside and just try to write an honest story. Like I say, all the stories in here are true, and they're hilarious. Some of them are hilarious. But yeah, that's what I'm about. I'm about whittling it down to the truth. And I'll take a page off of Danny Mugg's playbook. When I was writing this, I asked him and certain other friends, "Can I have your permission to put this in the book? Because I don't want to embarrass anyone."
Yeah.
And Danny Mugg said, "Tone, warts and all, warts and all." And that's an interesting autobiography. No, I'm not interested in reading somebody's autobiography if they're just going to placate me and
Yeah.
tell me what I want to hear. I want to hear the dirty shit as well as the inspiring shit.
Yeah. So you made a interesting comment in that if you if you feel that kind of imposter syndrome where you think I can't do this, you tell yourself that you can. Have you always been that way, like even as a young child, or did that develop later on in your life?
I think that developed after my stroke, because I was scared to death to, do this. Like to, I mean, my world had been flipped upside down. I felt like a monster. I was, so, I was completely paralyzed, in the progression of completely paralyzed to able to lift your leg up 1 inch to 4 inches to 8, and so on, and then you're wheelchair bound, and then you're walking with a cane, and then it's a 4 prong cane down to a 1 prong cane, and then you're walking with a leg brace, and all the while I'm feeling self-conscious.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like, and this isn't in my head. No, nobody
Yeah.
gives a shit. you know but I'm thinking everyone's staring at me like I'm this
Right.
pariah. And so I had to, tell myself again and again that you can do this. I was terrified to get up on stage for the first time, yet I knew that if I set out to do something, and I accomplished this, it would be important to somebody somewhere to know that, if I can do it, like you can do it. Um, and I just put out this cheesy little, minute video with the help of my good buddy and graphic artist Jason Seaman, and it's if I can, so can you. And I say cheesy, but I'm all heart and soul. I mean that.
Yeah.
If I can do it, like anyone can do it. It's not. I don't have the secret power. I just have, the will to believe in myself, and you can transcend anything if you can tap into that. And sometimes all it takes is like some knucklehead like me putting out a book and saying, yeah, 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 it's that easy,
Yeah, yeah. So when you, I know part of it was you felt the need to tell your story and, um, you know, share your life with the rest of us, which I think is great. Um, but as you were just talking about, you know, the the ethos of if anybody can do it, if I can do it, anybody can do it, you can do it. Do you, as you were writing, did you, and particularly when you're talking about your stroke, were you thinking of other people that have had strokes or have to deal with like life altering changes, either physically or mentally, that challenge them to have to change their lives? Were you thinking of them in terms of like, I want to reach out and be able to share my story and let them know that all the things they're feeling are totally normal, and was that part of your
Absolutely.
process?
Yeah. It's a game of perspective, right?
Hmm.
And early on, I was at this rehab center after I got out of rehab in the hospital for 2 months. Then I was on in outpatient rehab, and after outpatient rehab runs out, then so like, okay, lots of luck,
Yeah.
and that's only like 2 weeks out of the year. So what else do you do when you're still fucked up? So I got a membership down at Braza, which is attached to Rehabilitation Institute of Michigan, and I made it my job to rehab and music. That was all I concentrated on. And going there, you have spinal cord injury patients, and it's heartbreaking because you have your bad days feeling sorry for yourself. And I was on an elliptical machine one day. I can still remember this, and this guy was just wheeling past me, and I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I'm like, "You're a fool, man! Like he'll never walk again." And here you are feeling sorry for yourself. So you're going to work out for him. You're going to do this for him. And I've always carried his face around with me and several others because I'm lucky. I worked hard, and you know, I know that I like my hard work got me here, but there's a element of luck too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm. It can like the old saying, it can always be worse, and that's
Yeah.
totally accurate. So I take those people with me, and part of this book, what I'd like to do, I'd like to be a stroke advocate, and Um, Possibly this summer, or as soon as possible, I'm going to start throwing together a festival for stroke, and it'll be
Oh,
my
wow, cool.
festival, and all the cool bands hopefully will join with me, and we can raise money for stroke awareness. And that's just one of many things I'd like to do to make the world a better place.
Awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I think that would be really cool. So, Tom, got any other questions for Tony?
No, I mean, I guess not necessarily a question on it. I mean, no, I think that's fantastic. I mean, I think it's a good thing because I think a lot of people aren't strokes, like things like that. I mean, I work in HR, and we have different courses like that. In the workplace, of signs from the stroke, things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the general public, a lot of people aren't aware. So I think a lot of people, I think that's great. Anytime you can raise kind of awareness for the general public to be like, signs, things
Yeah.
like that. A lot of times people don't know, and then by the time they get to the hospital, they've lost a lot more than they would if they start recognizing it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Tony, in conjunction with the book, you've got the album coming out, which will be a Dude album, correct?
Yep.
And
My
so, are
album.
they are both coming out on the 1st of December?
No. And I'll tell you the reason why in a minute. The album is going to be released in mid-April of 2023,
Okay.
and that was on purpose. And here's the reason why. Back to Mr. Danny Muggs. Um, so we're sitting around in the time of COVID, and we're having a couple beers, and he just kept on putting like, Tony, gotta get the book out. No, it's gonna be out when it's out. I can't force this.
Right.
And I was saying that I'm gonna release the book and the album at the same time. And he said, you know what? Can I make a suggestion? You might not want to do that. And here's the reason why. He read a book called Dear Theo, and it was a compilation of letters from Vincent van Gogh to his brother Theo.
Oh.
And he read that and he devoured it. And he said, Tone, after I read that book, I could not see Vincent van Gogh's art the same way. It was just so much more, it had so much more depth to it after I read this man's thoughts. And so, in that same vein, in
Oh,
that
yeah.
same breath, why don't you release the book first? And then people will get to know your passion for music, your drive, what inspires you, your corny ass jokes, everything else that goes along with it. And I think there's some truth to that. That I'm hoping, it's my hope that it'll make the album that much more interesting. And the album is, there are some crossovers on purpose, that some of the lexicon I use, and like some of the just the phrasing I use, shows up in the book that I have
Okay.
lyrics for.
Yeah.
And chapter 13, which is the chapter which deals with the day I had my stroke, is called, the title of the chapter is called Tomorrow is Promised to No One. And that's something my mom used to always say to me, that stuck with me. And I actually wrote a song. The last song on the album is called Tomorrow is Promised to No One. And that's just the saddest song I ever wrote, just dealing with my mom's sudden passing. So
Yeah.
there are some crossover elements to it. So, and I always like to think that when I write music, I'm always writing from personal experiences. So this is Autobiographitti, the book and the album.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent. So, I mean, I know we even haven't had a chance yet to get the first volume, and you mentioned that there's a second book. So, have you started on the second book? Do you have a timeline, or is it more like, no, I got this fucking thing done, and I need to
It
rest?
was. I mentioned in the epilogue, and I just say when I have some time to myself, some thoughtful time. I've just been like, my problem is I want to do everything all the time, go 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 go, and right now, um, I'm actually tracking my third album, like Dude's third album right now, with the boys and the
Nice.
dudes. It's slow and going, but we got that. We're filming. We're gonna film a video for "Oh Geez Louise," which will be the second track off this new album, and hopefully we can squeeze in one more video. The song is called "My Puppy Dog Eyes," which I haven't released yet either. I'm saving all the best for for the actual release.
Right.
And I still. I should mention my good friend CJ Carpenter. She's a graphic artist. I mentioned her in the book. She helped me edit this book. She designed the cover. So
nice.
If you I should say if you go to I started a .com because I felt compelled to, if I'm going to release this book, like I should have a .com. So go to TonyMuggs.com. It just is like it sounds, TonyMuggs.com, and you can read an about me and about Autobiograffitti, the book, and my 4 bands, the Mugs and Dude, Rattlesnake Shake, and Megaweech, the latter of which are tribute bands. But back to CJ, she actually designed the cover and helped me edit it and put pictures with captions inside the book.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Oh my God, that was like a 2-month process in itself.
Yeah.
And then uploading it to Amazon, you have all these hoops to jump through. And my good friend Karen Farrell helped me out, as well as CJ. And so that was just the hardcover and the paperback. Now in the new year, CJ and I are going to get together to do the Kindle, and that's its own animal for some reason. I don't know why they make this so hard, but and then Delusions of Grandeur, I want to do an audiobook where I'm reading it.
I was just going to ask you if you were thinking about doing an audiobook.
Absolutely. It's just going to take me a year because I'm the poorest. I'm not a good reader.
That is hard.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is. It's super hard because I've, I get tongue tied and stumble fuck around when I'm talking on this, let alone trying to like read something. Because even when I make, so when I'm doing this show and other interviews, I make notes, right? I have questions here, and I try to like, or when I'm doing like the intro and exits for the podcast, I'm reading off this thing. It's only 2 sentences, but I swear to God, I fuck it up like 4 or 5 times. So I can't imagine reading a book. I would be, you'd all be dead by the time I get done.
Yeah. Well, I won't include the glossary, for sure. But I like a challenge. Let's just say that. And, the more I do something, the better I get. So hopefully it'll be that 6-month learning curve of,
right.
I can get on top of things and blast through it, but it's got to be correct. I'm not about embarrassing myself any more than I already am. But life is short, so you gotta put yourself out there, right?
Right.
No, I think audiobook would be great though.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, because I mean,
Thanks,
I love reading, but I don't do enough reading, but I do a lot of audiobooks. So I would love it too.
I've had several people suggest like audiobook, but you gotta read it.
Yeah.
And coming from the guy that couldn't speak and had to relearn how to talk, challenge accepted. That sounds like something, I'm all about punishment.
I think that's what would make it special, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that'd be the element, just that the fact that you had to kind of relearn all that, and you'd be the one delivering it. I think that would be a really, really cool element to it.
You're right, and like I said, I don't back down from anything, and I don't even know where to start, or who to go to, or if I should just buy the gear myself and do it on my own in a little closet. A soundproof closet to make it sound super intimate. But I'll start, snooping around and asking the right questions and see if anyone can help me out. And see if we can get this done, the sooner the better. But like I said, Kindle audiobook, 3rd album, which is going to be called Destroy It.
Nice.
Yeah. I got an awesome album cover. Do you guys know? Are you hip to Ron DeVos, the former owner of the Cajun Cafe?
No.
He's a wonderful friend of mine, a wonderful artist and painter. Now he's an author, a horror author, and he self-published through Amazon as well. And I asked him to pay me a picture of Godzilla knocking down the rent sign, like that rent sign right there.
Yeah.
And the story, not I don't want to get too much into it, but the Muggs and Dude had a tour manager. He passed away suddenly during the time of COVID. He's only 39, but a
Wow.
really smart man. His name was Juan Pablo Chamorro, and he was a Spaniard, and but he could speak fluent English, and he was very clever and smart. And he would always introduce the Muggs back in the day, because Detroit didn't have the best reputation back in 2012,
Right.
2015. So he would say, all the way from Detroit, Michigan, the Muggs. And so that was just the biggest inside joke ever for me, and I loved it. And to keep his memory alive, I actually I decided it was going to be destroyed before he passed away. So, needless to say, it was another gut punch. But everyone dies. But my question to humanity is, who really lives? And this guy is trying to really live and do special things, because as cheesy as it sounds, tomorrow is promised to no one.
That's right. That's right. That's true. It's true. So, kind of switching gears a little bit, Tony. If you could share a beverage, a beer, or whatever your choice with someone that could be alive today or have passed on, who would that be and why?
Oh, I think you asked this before, and I don't. Am I going to repeat myself and say John Lennon? Probably, because my whole life I have had vivid dreams, and I've actually got to talk to John in my dreams. When I was 19, I had this super vivid dream that we were sitting on a looking out on the ocean on one of those like breathtaking hill cliffs, I'm assuming was the Atlantic Ocean or something like that. And
Yeah.
I was just asking him all these questions, and I forget exactly what I was asking him, but I was so enamored with him in the Beatles from 19 till now. It's really something that if if there was a God, I would love if he would grant me 5 minutes of his time, you know.
Nice. What,
But yeah,
what do you think what would be like one question you'd want to ask him or talk to him about?
I would ask him what inspires him to write the way he does, because it's uniquely John. When you hear a John song,
Yeah.
especially in the Beatles time, he kind of, in my opinion, this is just I'm sure I'm going to piss off all your fans. He kind of he wasn't my favorite solo guy. He got too political, and he took 5 years off, to raise Sean, which was awesome. But Paul's my solo guy. But
Yeah.
I would ask him specifically during that time. They were writing prolific songs at 21, 22. I mean, songs that they're still talking about. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how old was John when he wrote In My Life? 22 or 23?
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't, like, that's incredible to
Right.
me. So was it just like how I approach a song, just or having like Danny Muggs, like you couldn't pry a fucking guitar out of his hands for like from the time he started learning guitar until basically now, and that's how good he was, and that's how much time he put in. So I just asked him that question. Maybe it's a little naive of me. Maybe I know the answer, but I would like to hear it from his voice,
Yeah.
in his words, how he approached like in the inspiration to write a song,
Right.
because
Right.
that means more to me than anything. Because my process is sometimes I'll go out to a bar, and I can name several bands that I've left in between, like during their set, ran home and just like started like trying to play a song, like trying to write a song.
Really?
I took that inspiration that they were their inspiration on stage and tried to bring it home with me and try to create something special. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's just one of many processes I have. But yeah, everyone's got their own, and mine's no better or worse than anyone else's. It's just my process.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that there's probably a few people that aren't into the Beatles, but if somebody said, I haven't listened to the Beatles, what would be what album would you tell them that they need to start with,
A Revolver,
and why? Why that album?
because I think it's an amalgam of the old and the new, where they're headed and the psychedelic phase.
Yep.
Eleanor Rigby, the classical elements, the pot, John always said Rubber Soul was the pot album, but man, did they really get into the psychedelics?
Yeah.
I'm Only Sleeping, Then Your Bird Can Sing, She Said, which is an
Yeah.
acid song.
I heard the story about that too, that it was based on when they were at some party with is it Fonda, Peter Fonda,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
was tripping, or they were all tripping, and this guy's talking about death because he thought they wanted to know about death, and and that's where that song came out. I was like,
yeah,
whoa.
yeah. I'm not sure. They're probably in California hanging out with the birds and
Yeah.
mamas and papas and
Right.
all those cool cats. But yeah, that era of music, in my opinion, is the best from like mid '60s through mid '70s.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I'm just endlessly fascinated with those stories. And timing's everything. I wish I was born in that time, but we'll try to make our time the best.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, what was the most recent album you've purchased or listened to? Could be, just streaming it.
Oh, okay. Man. Who? Uh, nah, you put me on the spot, because I listen to music every day, like several hours of music a day. I just feed my brain when I clean homes. I just tell my clients I'm putting on earmuffs, and I just and it's Spotify. And there's a cat by the name of Andy Schaff that I was listening to today,
Uh,
and he's from Canada, and he is kind of like a folk singer. Reminds me of Paul Simon a little bit,
oh,
but
cool.
he has this one album from 2016 called The Party, which if you like that psychedelic introspective kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and speaking of which, the two songs on Autobiograffitti, Own the Day and Tomorrow's Promise to No One, are they're pages taken directly from that kind of music.
Nice.
I love the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
I was just listening to the Beach Boys yesterday too. I mean, it's unfair. It's an unfair question because I listen to so much music
Right.
every day. It's kind of like, what mood am I in? I don't know. I love all music. Yeah, but Andy Schaff, The Party is interesting and worth a listen if you're
Cool.
into that sort of thing. But locally, I was just listening to the Cheetahs the other day.
Oh, they're awesome.
My opinion, one of the best three-piece rock bands on the planet. And I love the boys to death. And I could go on and on about the Detroit scene. Man, my goodness.
So, Tommy, how about you? What have you been listening to lately?
I think the most recently, Leroy from the Earth. It's kind of like a really cool California. Kind of has that like kind of like 70s rock, country-ish type mix
Uh,
type. Real cool stuff.
nice. Very nice.
What
So,
was that name? You broke up.
Oh, Leroy from the North.
Okay, never heard of him. But there's
Yeah,
so much music out there, man.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, really cool stuff. I think they're like Palm Desert or somewhere from out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man, really just kind of cool California type throwback type stuff. Really just kind of good to like. It'd be cool to be driving like a old Trans Am.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
That, you know. But hey, actually, I got to run actually real quick. I realize.
All right, man.
But hey, I just want to say hi, man. Hey, I'll pick up the book December 1st, man, for sure, Tony.
Thanks, Tommy.
Awesome.
Dude,
Yeah,
good to see you.
Slumlord Radio rules, man. Thank you.
What's
Slumlord Radio. Yeah, baby.
I'll see you guys later.
All right, man. Take it easy, Tommy. So Tony, any type of like special release? I mean, we've got the date, December 1st. Any kind of like release parties or anything like that to promote the
Yeah.
book?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked because there's so much going on. I almost forgot to mention that I'm having a book reading and signing on December 20th, which is a Tuesday,
Oh, cool.
starting at 7 p.m. at Caju Cafe.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yep. And I actually have guest readers.
Really?
Yeah, kind of take the pressure off of me
Yeah.
and make it a thing, you know. And these are dear friends of mine, some old, some new. And so we're gonna read for about an hour. Hopefully, you know, an hour if that's not too boring. And then I'll have a book signing, and we'll just have some drinks and listen to some rock and roll. But no bands. I didn't want.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, too close to Christmas, and I didn't want to make it too crazy.
Right.
So yeah, but I'm looking forward. I've been practicing reading just
Nice.
because yeah, it's daunting. You know, another challenge that I have to, you know, if I'm going to be the complete stroke advocate and person I want to be, I have to be an eloquent speaker,
Right.
and it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
And so that's just another feather in the cap. Ultimately, you know, I'll get there, but you know, it's not easy sometimes. But
Right.
you know, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right?
That's right, man. So are you so for the special guest, do they get to pick what they want to read, or are you gonna kind of
No,
curate
actually,
what they get to read?
I'm picking for them, and just the guest speakers. We're gonna make a post. My buddy Jason is gonna make a poster, a really cool poster. But here, some of the readers. Audra Kubat's gonna read.
Nice.
Jimmy Doom, a famous author from Detroit. He was actually an actor in The Irishman.
Oh,
And,
really?
yeah. Sterling Silver, Detroit socialite, and he's got stories about hanging with Rod Stewart and Iggy Pop back in the day. Stephen from the Beggars, Eddie from the Sights. You know, my good friend Paul Mizraca. He's the lead singer of Megaweeds, but also he's Eastside Elvis and Motor City Mafia. And Carson McEnoney and Nick Barone, they're from Max Saturn, good buddies of mine.
Yeah.
And my cousin Annie, who is near
nice.
dear to my heart. So that nine people, and then I'll put my chicken scratch on some books, and then we'll just have, you know, relax with some libations.
Nice. Nice. I think it's a good idea. You know, as much as I love live music and everything, if you're gonna have a reading, just have it be the reading, and then people can socialize too. You know, because sometimes, you know, when I'm at a show, I don't necessarily get to socialize with people because, you know, you should be paying attention to the band and not chit chatting with your friends. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I definitely, I was thinking the same thing, Chuck. I wanted people to, you know, drink and be merry and be able to talk, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's not too often that somebody locally releases a book who is a musician. So this is, you know, I want this to be a big deal locally, and you know,
Yeah.
a celebration of, you know, hey, somebody did something, right?
Right, right. Hell yeah.
Another excuse for Detroit to fucking party.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, I really appreciate you being on Fans with Bands. I can't wait to get the book. I'm looking forward to it so much. I've got one question for you, and it's kind of holiday themed because we're getting closer into the holidays and toward Christmas and that. And that is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not?
I'd say yes, it is. Yes. And can I plug an album that I actually plug in the book?
Sure.
I grew up with this album. It's like a Star Wars Christmas. And for every Star Wars fan out there, young and old, you have to find this. I know it's on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'm pretty positive it's not on Spotify, but
Okay.
you can look it up on YouTube. And it's a Star Wars Christmas. And Bon Jovi actually got his first start because his uncle or his cousin produced the album, this Christmas album. And Bon Jovi plays the part of S. Claus, which is Santa Claus's son. And it's hilarious. And like songs like, what can you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already owns a comb? I mean, and this guy, whoever wrote these songs, man, he put his heart and soul into it because they're good compositions. But man, Star Wars, like it's Christmas season, so
Yeah.
look it up and tell him Tony Mike sent you because it is worth like every. I can't. Yeah, I had to write about it. It's just one of my wonderful childhood memories. Putting on that album and then dressing the tree and decorating the house. Really cool.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, Tony, thank you again for being on Bands with Bands. And everybody listening, and I'll be sure to promote this as much as I can to get the book, and I'll spell it right actually this time. So
Oh, I appreciate it. No, that's not your fault. I wanted to make it different. I'm aware that graffiti only has one T and like normal spelling, so I wanted to make it like so it would be its own
stand
thing.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
2 F's, 2 T's.
2 F's, 2 T's. Excellent. Yeah, that'll be key for people, searching and trying to find it. So looking for it on Amazon. Hell yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate what you do and all the adulation and coverage, the bands that you've shot up over the years, Life in Michigan, and it's just wonderful to have guys like you on our side.
Thanks, man.
So,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Much love, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
Okay.
Many thanks to Tony for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. It is always a lot of fun getting to talk to Tony about his life and music. I've got my order in for his new book, Autobiograffitti, which is out now. I'm looking forward to digging into more of his story. You can get your copy over on Amazon. If you will be near Detroit on December 20th, head over to the Caju Cafe, where Tony will be hosting a reading of his book with some special guest readers. See the show notes for all the details and links. These are tough times for everyone in the creative industries such as music. Your support of live streaming, purchasing music, and merchandise is critical. If you can help out your local artists, please do. If you are in the Michigan area, consider following the Playing in the Detroit Area Tonight Facebook page. It is a place for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show and leaving a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.